Hey guys, this is Spencer. Thanks so much for tuning in. Today's video is going to be about my 1994 Integra GSR. I am currently in the middle of installing a RYWIRE engine harness. You can see there and kind of that mess of wires right there. So I'm going to be talking about what I've done and where I need to go with that installation. Also, I'm going to be talking about the deletion of the Evap system that I did on this car and also future plans for this car. But before I get started, I want to give a huge shout out to the username of Garage Built Hondas on YouTube. He shared my video. Thanks so much, man. I appreciate it. And then also to the username of Oh Yeah About That on Instagram for sharing one of my videos on Instagram. I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. Give these guys a follow if you don't already. They got really good content. I'm huge fans of both these guys, so be sure to check them out. All right, let's get started. Let's take a look in this engine bay. So I did buy the RYWIRE engine harness because I believe my old engine harness had some bugs in it, as in like some torn and frayed wires that were not providing a good connection. So I went ahead and spent the money and bought a RYWIRE engine harness. These are known to be very, high quality. This is their actually budget tucked harness. So as you can see, I got a big mess of wires coming through the firewall. All right, before I dive into the engine bay with the new RYWIRE engine harness, let's take a quick look at the old engine harness. This is the one I pulled out, and yeah, it's quite nasty, and I wanted to show you guys a few connections on here. Like this is my TPS. I redid this wire about a year ago, and I plan to de-loom all this stuff and see if I can actually find a break or cut in the wire down the line. But there's even more specific stuff like this one right here. This is the, I believe, the engine coolant temp sensor plug. And you can see right here, whenever I was taking this off, this had such a poor connection that it actually broke off. It's corroded. You can see the corrosion on the plug right there. And that's frayed wire. And like I said, this was so corroded that that wire just completely broke off. It was only connected by maybe like two or three wire strands, and that's it. So I imagine that could cause some problems right there. And overall, this is just, it's the original OEM harness. And I don't know how good a shape this thing is in. It's over 25 years old. So yeah, stock engine harness, not in the best condition. And also I'm replacing it with a better harness. This is mil-spec grade wiring on this engine harness that I got from RYWIRE. Okay, so first things first, let's start off here. What I've done is there used to be a little bracket right here that had two plugs on it and one dead plug. Well, I eliminated that bracket, it goes here. I'm going to have to obviously re-loom all this stuff. I haven't bought the loom yet, but if you guys have any suggestions for like a high heat loom, I found one on Amazon, but the reviews are pretty good, but I wanted to see if you guys have any, brands that you guys think are, superior or just really good for the heat of the engine bay. So please comment below and I'll definitely look into it. But anyways, here is the driver's side loom coming from the firewall. And then the two plugs where the sub harness starts it's kind of hard to see because the brake master cylinder is in the way, but it's all the way down there. You can see that those two plugs all the way down there. So like I said, I'm gonna loom all of this wire up, and then the RYWIRE harness starts there, and then I'm going to probably zip tie it to some of those brake lines so it can run under or beside all those brake lines into the passenger side firewall over there. Now the original engine harness, it just had two plugs right here. It had a big fat wire that ran all the way down here, and then it snaked its way down there, and then it ran over the alternator and underneath the intake manifold, and then over the T-bracket for the motor mounts. So it went a different direction. I actually, whenever I first got installed this sub harness, I tried to go that exact route, but it wasn't long enough to actually go through the firewall and have enough slack for me to connect it to, the engine harness. So that route would not work. So then I had to reroute it as I just said. So that's the reasoning for that. So I get it. I mean, it's a tucked harness. So, they eliminated that, and I mean, even though it's along the firewall, I do think that it is a better route than underneath the intake manifold. This is the route I'm talking about. This T-bracket right here, this mount, and then underneath the throttle body, just a big fat wire just came over here, and you know, went that direction and this direction and every which direction. So that's where the original harness went. So I have the sub harness routed. I even have it behind there, so you can see it coming along there. I probably could tuck this better, but for now, man, I just want to get this car running. So this is how it's going to work for now. And then I have it through this grommet. That's that. These are other wires that run along, like the headlight harness and just other accessories, ABS and stuff like that in the engine bay. So there's that. I have hooked up everything with the RYWIRE harness except for the stuff that I actually will, this little tangent that's coming off the RYWIRE harness. This I believe I will have to run underneath here, because this is stuff like the alternator, the injectors, and these are labeled, which is really cool. I really like that about the RYWIRE harness. There's the O2, those are extra wires. Oh yeah, and then the knock sensor. Oh yeah, guys, I got to talk about these 2 extra wires and then the knock sensor. So let me bring you over here to my table, my toolbox table. Well, you ever wondered what inside of a knock sensor looks like? Well, there you go. This is supposed to be connected. This is supposed to go in there and be connected like that. There you go. There is a knock sensor. Well, whenever I was taking off the stock engine harness, the connector was very much so tightly connected to this, and actually I didn't give it much force, but I just barely tried to, you know, take it off, and this ripped in two. This doesn't look like it's connected, you know, all that well. I mean, you can see almost looks like porcelain or something in there. Looks like that part right there was kind of soldered onto there, so it's kind of a weak part. So yeah, this broke in two, so I'm gonna have to buy a new one. Of course, gonna get one from Honda. Guess how much this is from Honda? I'll give you guys 2 seconds. $185, and that's actually with a discount on, I believe I use AccurateOEMparts.com, but yeah, $185 for that one sensor. Wow. I probably could get it cheaper off of eBay and stuff like that, but if you know me, I like OEM parts. If they make the part and it's not discontinued, then I always use Honda OEM parts. Anyways. So yeah, I'm gonna have to order that, and there's a new gas cap for my EF Civic. This is an OEM gas cap, cool piece. These are just some connectors that I had to depin to make the harness fit, and just some vacuum wire, which I'll get to in a minute. So yeah, number one, knock harness. Unfortunately, it was a casualty in this installation. Another thing, the extra wires. Well, you can't really see under there, but underneath the intake manifold, there is a black box. You can kind of see the bracket for it right there. And this is on GSRs only. This intake manifold, if you guys are Honda fans, you know that this intake manifold is only on the GSR. This is basically like a 2-stage VTEC, like 5750 RPM. So it's basically a dual stage intake manifold, and the black box underneath the intake manifold is called an IAB, intake air bypass, I believe it stands for. But anyways, it has a connection on it, has a sensor, which the wiring harness obviously hooks up to. And RYWIRE does not have a plug on their harness that connects to it. It's a 2-wire plug, so unfortunately, I'm gonna have to wire that myself. One wire goes to the ECU, A17, I believe, which is the ground, and the other wire goes to a 12-volt source. I do not know where I'm going to hook that up, because I read online that other people hook it up to the purge valve. Well, here you go. Here's the purge valve. The purge valve, you see that hole in the intake manifold? There was a screw right there, and it just sits right there. It has a hose that goes from here to here on the intake manifold, and then from here to the charcoal canister, which used to sit right there. So they don't include the purge valve solenoid wiring clip either. And I called them and asked them and said that they just don't include they consider it a emissions thing, which I guess it is. But I don't see how they, think that the IABs are emissions. Anyways, I don't know. So anyways, most people take the wire, the power wire from the purge valve that sits right there and just splice in the IAB to connect to the harness. So connect from the IAB to power source to there. Well, that's eliminated. So I don't know where I'm going to get, I hope that makes sense, but I don't know where I'm going to get my power source for that. It needs a 12-volt source. So if you guys have any suggestions, that would be excellent if you guys could help me out on that. That would really, really help. So yeah, anybody that knows about IAB and the wiring and stuff like that, you know, shoot me some comments. Please let me know how I can wire that up. Anyways, so the IAB, I'm probably going to have to use the extra wires, and I'm going to have to take the clip. I don't see the clip off the top of my head and on this harness, but I'm going to have to cut the clip on this and obviously plug it into that, get some new wire, or plug it into the extra wires on the RYWIRE harness, test for voltage once I find a place to actually hook it up, and then, you know, wire it that way. It's kind of confusing, but yeah, there's that. So all this needs to be hooked up. How about let's take a look inside the car. Let's take a look here. Obviously, I do have the dashboard out. It is sitting right over there. That is a huge job getting that thing out. But yeah, here we go. I have my passenger seat out. Interior of my car. I've never taken off the dashboard out of this car, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, here's a huge mess of wires. We have the overall chassis harness right here. I de-loomed all of this. This took like, you know, well over an hour just to de-loom, you know, most of this stuff. Those 4 plugs that were sitting on my toolbox bench, this is them. I de-pinned all of these wires. I called RYWIRE and they said that I no longer need these. So I don't want to cut them off just in case. So I'm going to leave them. I'll probably, you know, zip tie them somewhere up here. But yeah, anyways, here is the sub harness. Here are those 2 extra wires. These connect to the original ECU plugs, which are right here. And then here is the engine harness, which will connect, these 3 will connect to the ECU. And then this one will connect to the sub harness right here. So I'm not going to go much into this. You know, I'm sure you guys know that wiring is kind of a headache. As I said, I do need to buy some loom. I'm going to loom this all up, you know, nice and pretty. Not probably as good as this RYWIRE harness, but I'm definitely going to loom all that up, get some zip ties ready, and yeah. Oh, I took out the fan motor out of this. Man, it was nasty. It was like completely black. Here's the fan motor. I cleaned it all up. Here's what it was resting in. It was nasty. God, I hope it wasn't mold sitting in there. Yeah, this is all the internals and battery holder. So just some cool parts right there. Obviously the battery of the car. So yeah, there's the wiring mess. I definitely have a job ahead of me. And you know, I'm just kind of learning as I go and doing lots of research online. So let's go ahead and get to the Evap deletion. So since RYWIRE does not include the harness to hook up this Evap purge valve, which by the way was stuck. Get my Dremel out, and I first tried to tap this with like 4 different taps. This is the head of the screw that held it on. I tried to tap it 4 times, and then this was the actual screw that was in there. So I just had to cut the head off, and then I was able to pull this out and finally get this thing off. So yeah, there was some vacuum lines, obviously, that hooked up to the bottom of the purge solenoid. So that one went right here on the intake manifold. So I'm gonna have to buy some vacuum caps. I've seen some on Amazon. I'm gonna go ahead and get those. I found some black ones that I like, so I'm gonna cap that. And then also, I will also have to cap this right here on the throttle body. Do have a professional product 65mm throttle body. But anyways, I will have to cap this guy and this guy. And because this black hose right here, this is the charcoal canister. This actually helps with vapors that come from your gas tank. And yeah, I think it like recycles gas fumes that come from the fuel tank. So yeah, this connects to the purge valve and the throttle body, and then this goes beneath the car. I will actually show you guys something here. Let's see. So this hard line right here, this is actually comes from the fuel tank, and then it connected to the charcoal canister to, you know, basically take care of the fuel fumes. So what you do is you have to reroute this, because if you just leave this hanging here, this will let fumes stay in your engine bay, and your engine bay will smell like gas all the time. Not a good idea. So this hose right here, this is different from it all. This was actually connected to the fuel filter. I do not know, maybe somebody will know, why is this connected to the fuel filter? It's like a dead end hose, but it serves a very important purpose. It goes underneath the car. I'll show you guys where it ends up here in a moment. But what you're supposed to do whenever you delete all this, by the way, the charcoal canister was just bolted on right here in this area. All of the tubes went in that direction. But anyways, I'm going to have to cut this because it's too long, and I'm going to take this right here, this bit of vacuum hose. I'm going to shove one end into the vent pipe right here. I'm going to shove one end into there, and I've already tested it. It fits perfect. And then I'm going to shove the other end into this once I cut it, because obviously this is too long. I'm going to have to cut this to size, and then join these two, and that way the vent tube will go underneath the car. Let me show you guys where this tube ends up. All right, guys, so I am underneath my car, and you can see right there, this tube right here, that connects to that orange tube in the engine bay. So, yeah, there's the catalytic converter, and there's that vent pipe. So it just vents underneath the car instead of, you know, in the engine bay. Yeah, that's how I'm going to hook up the vent pipe to go underneath the car. Hopefully, you know, online people said that that's the way to do it. Also, I called, even RYWIRE told me about it. They didn't give me exact directions on how to do it, but that's what they said to do. So along with the harness, I got a grounding kit and then some wires for, actually I think this is the grounding kit, and these wires go to the starter and the alternator. So I'll have to run, you know, a power wire from the alternator connecting right there, probably underneath the intake manifold, to the fuse box. Oh yeah, I took out the fuse box too. It's just sitting right there. You have to do it in order to get access to, you know, the firewall back here. All these big wires are the fuse box. Again, these are kind of sloppy, kind of messy. I'm going to redo this stock engine loom right here. I need some new loom, guys. If you haven't already, comment below. Tell me which brand I should use for a loom. I really want it to be clean. But anyways, yeah, this RYWIRE harness is pretty cool. It's definitely a lot lighter and a lot cleaner than the original OEM one. All right. Oh, and I also took off the exhaust manifold heat shield, because once I get this thing running, if this actually, the whole reason why I'm doing this harness swap is, you know, not only to be, you know, clean and all that, but also because I was having this intermittent fluctuating low idle, and I have a clip of it up on my Instagram. My exhaust on my Integra just sounds really odd. It sounds like a beating drum. It's almost like a misfire. I've replaced so many parts on this car. I've been trying to fix this problem for about 2 years. I've had TPS problems, you know, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not going to go into it, but I'm hoping this will fix my problem and get this engine, you know, 100%. If it does fix it, fingers crossed, I immediately after I find out that the car is running well, I'm going to be replacing this old exhaust manifold with I actually have a DC Sports. There's a box for it right down there. And so I'm going to replace the header. And then also, I currently have a Yonaka catback exhaust on this car. And I think it sounds great, but man, their quality is just not good. I have replaced the catback on this 3 times. Yes, 3 times. It's because the mufflers create a rattle. And you know, once I get this thing running, I'll definitely post a video of the rattle that it does at a certain RPM. So I'm done with Yonaka. I think they sound great and I think they look great, but I think I'm gonna go for quality this time. I really wanna put a Apexi, whatever it's called. It's made in Japan. I believe the piping is some sort of lightweight, maybe titanium, and similar design, but much higher quality. So I'm gonna put that catback on this car once I get it running. So anyways, this is where I'm at on this car. Thank you guys for watching this whole video. I really appreciate it. Please give me a thumbs up if you like this car and want to see more content on it. And this is where I'm at with the engine harness install. If you guys have any pointers or tips for this, hopefully I get some time and I can get this thing running once again. Hopefully this fixes my problem. Again, thank you so much to Garage Built Hondas and Oh Yeah About That. Be sure to check them out. I'm huge fans of them. And I'll catch you guys in the next one.